Everyone can see Oliver's talent and ability. However, Oliver's tutor isn't very enthusiastic about this student because he has a rather big problem, stage fright. Oliver plays music with his classmates privately and gets extremely excited. His level is top-notch. The tutor has also given him performance opportunities, but he has a natural timidness. Every time he takes the stage, tremors and off-key notes are common. Even at the graduation solo concert that every graduate has to hold, his performance was mediocre. No wonder the tutor doesn't take care of Oliver. For a teacher, rather than watching a piece of unpolished jade destined to be covered in dust and unable to shine, it's better to close one's eyes and not look. Fortunately, Oliver himself doesn't like to be in the spotlight. Moreover, considering his family background, if it weren't for the matter of James, it wouldn't matter if he played music happily behind the scenes for a lifetime. If it were the real Oliver, he would definitely be so nervous that he couldn't sleep for half the night when hearing about the audition. Andrew calmly made himself a vegetable salad and by the way called Daniel to inform him that he had received the audition notice. 061 asked him, "Aren't you nervous?" "I have a thick skin," Andrew said. "Also, I'm from a modeling background. You know that, right?" 61 Yes. "This line of work requires on-the-spot reaction," Andrew said. "When I was 17, I went to a fashion show. The theme was fur. I was the third to appear. Somehow, some people from an animal protection organization got in to stop and protest. They jumped onto the stage, unfurled banners, blocked the models on the runway, shouted and even recited poems and gave speeches. It was extremely lively. It was really unfortunate that it happened just when I was about to take the stage. I had just taken a few steps on the stage when everyone rushed up." 061 asked, "Then what?" "I could have just turned around and rushed backstage. But if I did that, the subsequent rhythm would be completely disrupted and the whole show would fall apart." Andrew picked up a cherry tomato with a fork. "These people have their own beliefs and ideas, which is great. But I took the money from the organizer. I have to help them finish the show. This is professional ethics." Immediately afterwards, he made an evaluation of tomorrow's audition. "It's a small deal. I'm not scared." 061 thought that it sounded quite exciting. After reading to Andrew at night, he could go to 023 to see if there was a live video of that segment. Tonight, 061 read Chinese geography to Andrew. Before 061 finished listing the Chinese place names and river names, Andrew fell asleep. 061 smiled. On Andrew's report card, he ranked second from the bottom in politics and last in geography. Facts have proven that this ranking is very scientific because listing place names made Andrew fall asleep 10 minutes faster than reading matter determines consciousness. Andrew still slept lightly, but it was enough for him. After waking up, he felt infinitely energetic and even thought he could help Oliver hold a concert. At 7:30, Andrew tidied himself up and went downstairs. Daniel came to pick him up for the sound check. Leaning against the car and waiting for him when he saw Andrew wearing a faded denim jacket with his clean and slender wrists exposed, his eyebrows twitched. Before Daniel could scold him, Andrew rubbed his palms and slipped into the back seat. "It's so cold, so cold." Daniel spat and got into the driver's seat. This boss really knows how to choose. Andrew pushed the back of the seat. "Driver, start the car." Daniel took off his coat, threw it into the back seat, covering Andrew's face. "Hold this for me." Andrew balled up the coat to warm his hands. Daniel glanced at the rear view mirror. "This coat is more expensive than you." Andrew sat there warming his hands without moving and said brazenly, "Just treat me as a hanger." He rarely saw his younger brother so lively. This was supposed to be a good thing, but when he thought that this change was brought about by James, Daniel felt as uncomfortable as if he had swallowed a fly. He didn't mind his younger brother's sexual orientation. What he minded was James himself. Yes, James was hard, working, enterprising, and gentle with his younger brother, but in his heart, all of James's relatives ranked ahead of Oliver. Daniel admitted that it was really not easy for the Yang family to support James from a remote mountain area. However, precisely because of this, the people of the Yang family are James' own people, while Oliver, who has given his whole heart, is still an outsider no matter how he treats James. If there is no conflict, it's fine. Once there is a conflict, it would be a strange thing if James could protect Oliver. It's just that onlookers can't lend their eyes to those involved. Daniel has a lot of good sense, but no one listens to him when he speaks, so he can't help getting angry. Daniel could only seize this brief opportunity to probe, "How are you and James getting along? Has he told his parents about you?" Andrew shook his head, his expression unable to hide his loneliness. Daniel let out a breath and said he doesn't want his parents to know about your existence. Don't tell me you don't know what this means. Andrew sniffed and didn't answer. Daniel was quite puzzled. What on earth is so good about him? Students like James from poor families can be found in large numbers in Daniel's company. Although they all bear the imprints of their original families to some extent, at least they are all real men who dare to take responsibility. Andrew really wanted to say that he also didn't quite understand what was so good about James. Considering what James had done to Oliver, the only thing that amazed him was that a pile of trash could reach as tall as 1.8 meters. However, Oliver had loved too deeply before, so Andrew couldn't break his character. So he pretended to be deeply affectionate and said, there is a man who earns 10,000 yuan a month but is only willing to spend 1,000 yuan on you. Another man earns 1,000 yuan a month but is willing to spend 999 yuan on you. Brother, if it were you, which one would you choose? Andrew felt that the halo of a holy father above his head was shining brightly and he could completely perform a show of generating power with love. 061, who had been quietly listening, shivered at the stinky expired chicken soup. Daniel kept a straight face. Well, he has 1,000 yuan and spends 999 yuan on you. With the remaining 1 yuan, the two of you will have to drink the northwest wind for a month. Andrew thought that although he quite agreed with his theory, if he were Oliver, Daniel would have already the conversation at this moment. Only after he spoke did Daniel realize that his younger brother was in a bad mood. He softened his tone. Have you had breakfast? If it weren't for the fear that too much chatting would affect Oliver's state for the audition today, Daniel probably wouldn't have let go of this opportunity to brainwash and teach his younger brother a lesson. Andrew slouched his way to the downstairs of Xinyun Entertainment. From afar, he saw two people standing in the cold wind to greet him. Judging from their ages and clothing styles, they were definitely not just assistants. They were at least deputy directors. Andrew communicated with the system, this is not the treatment for an ordinary auditioning singer. 061 said, this is the treatment for the second young master of the Chun family. Daniel also spoke up at the right time, cheer up and don't be nervous. Before Andrew had the chance to thank Daniel for his rare thoughtfulness, he heard him continue, I've already greeted the people. You can just sing casually. Daniel was well aware of his younger brother's timid behavior in such formal occasions, so he had greeted the people in advance. This reassuring pill was of high quality and quantity, and it was a bit hard to swallow. One could imagine what kind of mood the real Oliver would be in if he were here. Andrew sighed and said, Teacher Liu, when can you offer a course on the study of language art for my brother? Who is Teacher Liu? Andrew said worriedly, he's likely to get beaten up if he talks like this. However, once he entered the audition room, Andrew calmed down. Similar to Yundu Entertainment where Hazel was, Nebula Entertainment had woven a vast entertainment network. It had numerous subsidiaries under its umbrella covering various aspects such as music and film. Fox Music was its flagship and two deputy directors and a music producer from Fox Music were in charge of Andrew's interview this time. The grandeur was quite remarkable. They first asked a few professional questions about music as usual. These questions were so simple that even sophomore music students in college could answer them. Andrew sighed to the system, this is the first time I've experienced a real-life example of under-the-table deals up close. 061 smiled. This seemingly simple situation was ultimately due to Andrew. All the hosts he had accompanied were afraid of the world line going wrong and walked through the plot honestly, not even having the chance to experience under-the-table deals. Soon, it was time for the singing part of the audition. Daniel, who was waiting outside just separated from Andrew by a glass wall, signaled the two deputy directors with his eyes. They nodded in understanding, but the producer obviously wasn't very enthusiastic about it. He had been keeping a cold face and staring at Andrew with his arms folded since just now. If it weren't for having heard the master tape and being interested in Andrew's voice, Lucy, the leading producer of Flying Fox Music, wouldn't have come here specially. However, the instructions from the two deputy directors and the childish questions just now have gradually made him lose interest in Andrew. The live performance is the life of a singer. There are too many studio singers. There's no need for one more Oliver. Andrew sat down in front of the piano, lifted the piano lid, and placed his 10 fingers on the black and white keys, as calm as water. He thought, Oliver, I've done what I should do for you. Now it's your turn. In a flash of inspiration, countless emotions flooded into Andrew's mind. And before being completely controlled by this emotion, Andrew said, 6-1, use the single enhancement card. 061 was slightly surprised, there's no need. Andrew placed his hands on the piano. Lucy is here. Who? The gold medal producer of Flying Fox music. Oliver really needs such a person. So Oliver must do his best. These words were extremely rational and cold, but 061 noticed that Andrew said Oliver, not I. It's what Oliver needs, not what Andrew needs. He made a very clear distinction. This talent and this glory don't belong to him, Andrew. Andrew said, I want to show Oliver how good his life would be if he could make good use of the cards in his hand. 061 was slightly touched in his heart, understood. He opened the warehouse, selected the card that Andrew wanted to use, and clicked to use it. Name, single, enhancement, experience, version, duration, 10 minutes, quantity, 1, quality, excellent, type, disposable item, required exchange points, 0, free distribution, introduction. Double the level of the original owner's existing advantages. After calming his mind, Andrew played the first chord. He sang Whispers in the Heart. It was a song that Oliver loved the most and one whose title was even copied onto the CD cover of Hazel. I'd like to be a bedside book, read carefully by you. As soon as Oliver opened his mouth, Lucy immediately sat up straight. The expressions of the two deputy directors also gradually changed. One of them listened for a while, then looked at Daniel outside the glass wall in surprise, only to find that he was as stunned as himself. Oliver had extremely strong control over his voice. His vocal cords seemed to be blessed by a miracle. With such excellent innate conditions, he didn't need to spend time on controlling pitch and timbre at all and could better express the emotions he wanted to convey. Moreover, his voice was already an instrument of excellent quality. Andrew entrusted the performance to Oliver with confidence, and he himself expressed all the external emotions. And the latter was Andrew's specialty. Without any rehearsal, Oliver improvised to string 3 songs together and made some temporary adjustments to many melodies. Whispers in the Heart was melodious, Love You was lively, and Autumn Thoughts was sad. Oliver gradually advanced and integrated the 3 styles, telling a tragic story of a young man obsessed with love and desire. When the song ended, Andrew closed the piano lid, looked up at Daniel outside the glass wall, and showed a tearful smile to him. Daniel didn't understand music, but he felt an inexplicable pain in his heart because of his younger brother's bitter smile. Andrew got out of the role quickly. In just a few blinks, he controlled his emotions, stood up from the piano and said, "Thank you, teachers." When Andrew came out of the music room, Daniel silently hugged him tightly. He didn't know why he did this. He just felt that he seemed to owe him such a hug. It seemed that, if he didn't do it soon, he might never have the chance to hug him in his life. This intimate action was quite normal for brothers, but 061 noticed that after being hugged, Andrew's muscles stiffened instantly, his body temperature rose suddenly, and his breathing became a little rapid, as if he was extremely resistant to this kind of contact. Fortunately, Daniel just gave him a hug. Andrew quickly returned to normal after being released. Lucy was so excited that she couldn't sit still. She pulled Andrew to discuss professional matters with him. The 2 directors knew they had found a great treasure and almost beamed with joy. They said to Daniel, "Daniel, you're too modest." Daniel tried to pull the corners of his mouth down. He was very happy, but still pretended not to care. He stated, "Oliver performed okay this time." As he was speaking, the phone that Oliver had left in Daniel's pocket before going in started buzzing. He took out the phone, and the big characters James appeared on the screen. Daniel looked up at his younger brother, who was chatting animatedly with Lucy. Daniel hung up the phone with a snap. Emotionally and rationally, it wasn't a good time for Oliver to answer James' call right now. On the other side, James held the phone with continuous busy signals, his face extremely ugly. He saw off his parents, 3rd sister and nephew, and specifically called to ask Oliver when he would move back. But how dare he hang up on him? After having dinner with Lucy and getting his phone back from Daniel, Andrew only then noticed there were more than 20 missed calls on it. Daniel obviously didn't intend to explain properly. He started the car and drove home, casually shifting the blame. "Is your phone broken?" Andrew was so anxious that he was sweating on his face, thinking, I really believe your nonsense. He said to 061. Block my phone signal. Andrew. Do as I say. 61. Okay. Seeing his younger brother call back 6 or 7 times but no one answering, and then typing away on the phone to send text messages, Daniel suddenly got angry. How dare he not answer your call? Andrew thought, Daniel, your double standard is a bit too much. He stared at Daniel pitifully. Only after Daniel said the words did he realize who the initiator of this trouble was. Looking at his younger brother's listless eyes, he felt a twinge of guilt and softened his tone a lot. All right. I'll take you upstairs later and you can call James to explain. Okay? Andrew gently rubbed his foot on the woolen doormat. The afternoon sun was a bit blinding, making his fair complexion almost transparent and his eyelashes glistened with a golden hue. Daniel's eyebrows twitched. He thought of his younger brother who had shone so brightly in front of the piano today. In those 10 minutes, he truly felt an unprecedented sense of pride. But during the meal, Daniel kept wondering who it was that had made the usually shy and timid Oliver summon the courage to sit in front of the piano. If Andrew knew what Daniel was thinking, he would definitely pat him on the shoulder and say, Elder brother, stop overthinking. I did it to make James unworthy of your younger brother. He looked up and tugged at Daniel's clothes. Brother, wear sunglasses when driving. The sunlight is so glaring. Daniel rummaged through the sunglasses case in the car, put on the sunglasses, and said, at least you still have me in your eyes. Oliver forced a smile that looked worse than crying, which made Daniel feel even more uncomfortable. The car drove on for a while. The residential area was not far ahead. Daniel said, think about what to have for dinner. I'll take you there. But Oliver didn't respond and stared straight ahead. Daniel also saw the person who had left his younger brother stunned and speechless. James was standing at the entrance of the west gate wearing a thick down jacket with an extremely gloomy face. The west gate was the closest to Daniel's apartment. It was the most convenient way for Oliver to enter and exit. Daniel's eyes turned cold and he wanted to just drive straight past. Oliver quickly grabbed Daniel and whispered, Brother. Hearing the plea in his younger brother's tone, Daniel looked displeased but still slowly stepped on the brake. Oliver tugged at the hem of his clothes with force and said, Brother, please don't get out of the car. You two will quarrel if you meet. Daniel sneered. I think he came here just to pick a fight with you. Oliver pleaded in a soft voice. Please, brother. Daniel pursed his lips but didn't move. He folded his arms and leaned back in the driver's seat. As if granted amnesty, Oliver quickly unbuckled his seat belt, got out of the car, and rushed towards James, exclaiming happily, James. However, James didn't respond and looked gloomy. Oliver shrank his neck guiltily and tried to please him by pulling his hand. James, I didn't mean to not answer your calls. I have good news to tell you. James slapped his hand away with a loud noise. Hearing this, Daniel, who had quietly opened a crack in the car window to eavesdrop, suddenly changed his expression. Oliver had never been treated like this before. He stared blankly at James and then at his red handbag. Despite his nose getting sour, he still persevered in trying to grab his hand. James, don't be angry. I've been very busy these days and have no time to take care of you. I was also afraid that contacting you would be discovered by your parents. Have your parents left? Did they have a good time these days? James saw Bentley over Oliver's shoulder. The person in the driver's seat was wearing sunglasses that covered half of his face, so his face couldn't be seen clearly. Was it that Lucas? James looked at Oliver coldly with a sneer. I think you've had a great time too. Now you probably don't even remember where your home is, right? Oliver was very confused. In the past, when Oliver showed such an expression, James would always can't help but want to pinch his face. But now he only felt full of disgust, and the emotions that had been suppressed for several days rushed towards Oliver like a flood. Instead of getting angry, James laughed. Oliver, do you know how much I've given for you? Oliver was stunned. These days, my parents came. I couldn't eat or sleep well. I've been thinking about how to tell them about us. I'm the only son in my family. I'm the only hope of our family. Do you know what it means for me to be with you? It means that our young family will have no descendants. And you? There's at least a Daniel in your family, right? Do you know how much psychological pressure I'm under? Have you ever understood me? Oliver's eyes turned red. I have. I've never forced you to admit our relationship to your parents. You didn't force me. It's me who's forcing myself. James smiled miserably. I have no foundation. It's not easy for me to gain a foothold in the city. I'm not worthy of you, but I've tried my best to treat you well. In the second half of my junior year, you had a fever and called me saying you felt bad and wanted to drink lotus seed porridge. In the cold winter, I ran to 3 vegetable markets to buy it for you. After boiling it well, I sent it to your dormitory. In my senior year, when you were free, you often asked me to accompany you. As long as I could spare the time, which time didn't I come to accompany you? In the past 6 months, you've had no job and no income. You've just stayed at home cooking and cleaning. Have I ever blamed you even once? Oliver started to tremble. James, what's wrong with you? Why suddenly? James retorted, what's the deal with Lucas? Oliver was taken aback and his eyes involuntarily glanced in the direction of the Bentley. He's my friend. He lent me his house to live in. This glance made all the unwillingness and resentment that James had accumulated over the past few days erupt suddenly. He dropped his gentle demeanor and said spitefully, didn't he lend you anything else to use? Oliver's face changed drastically. James's temperamental imbalance has become evident and he's chasing relentlessly. Shouldn't you compare me with him again? Is there anyone else who can satisfy you more than me? Oliver burst into tears. James, stop talking. Please don't say any more. Oliver's such reaction made James even more convinced that his guess was right. After comparing, you think I'm boring, right? I'm poor from a humble background and I don't understand your music. Oliver shook his head tremblingly. You're going too far. If I disliked you, why would I have been with you in the first place? Daniel couldn't hold back and blurted out a swear word. This fool. He pushed open the car door with the momentum of removing a car door, stepped out briskly, and casually took off his sunglasses. When James saw the person getting out of the Bentley angrily, the sense of satisfaction he had just felt from speaking his mind almost choked him. Why is Daniel in the car? Daniel didn't play those tricks with James and immediately threw a punch. Oliver was shocked. Brother. He reached out to grab Daniel's suit like a chick hiding behind an old hen, but slyly didn't try to control Daniel's hands and feet. Taking advantage of the gap, James was kicked and slapped again, feeling a bit dazed. Daniel pointed at his nose and shouted, you really remember clearly all the good things you've done for my brother, one by one. Junior and senior year of college with specific times and places. Did you make a memo and look at it 3 times a day? Then how about I help you calculate how good my brother has been to you? Oliver was in tears, brother. James suddenly felt that he might have made a mistake. He looked nervously at the trembling Oliver. Daniel spat. What's it to you that my brother lives in my house? You've got so much to say. If you've got the guts, buy him a house yourself. James became even more flustered. Oliver? Didn't you say this was Lucas' house? What Lucas? Daniel pointed horizontally. Don't show off your power to my brother. If you doubt it, go and check for yourself to see who the householder here is. It's me. I lied. Oliver huddled behind Daniel and said with a sob, I didn't dare to say it was my eldest brother who lent me the house. I could only say I was staying at a friend's place. James was incredulous. Why did you lie? Oliver said in a trembling voice, you were unhappy when I used my eldest brother's car and said that my brother was interfering in my life. If I said I was going to stay at his place temporarily, would you agree? James turned pale, then. Who was the person I saw that day? Oliver could hardly stand up. Leaning on Daniel, he whispered. He's Lucas, my friend. After he returned to China, he didn't have the key to his home and there was no one at home, so I let him rest at my place temporarily to adjust to the time difference. Daniel turned half of his face. When was that? There was no trace of spirit in Oliver's eyes. The day I brought you food. I took in a friend without your permission and didn't dare to tell you about it. Daniel never got involved in his brother's circle of friends, so he naturally didn't know who Lucas was to his brother, so that's why the tea set was moved when I went to see you that night. James was in a panic, but Lucas clearly said. Oliver immediately retorted, what did he say? James was speechless. His face turned alternately green and red. It's me. James, come in and have a seat. Oliver is out. Wait here for a while. I'm his friend, not his guardian or a prison guard. Don't be surprised. We've been in private contact. Upon reflection, James realized that Lucas, whom he had met that day, had never admitted to being the owner of this apartment. Even when he had mentioned this in conversation, Lucas had never responded directly. James was in a complete mess. That day, Oliver didn't answer his call and said he was out with friends, but in fact, he was with his older brother? Come to think of it, this makes sense. After all, he had clearly told Oliver many times to let Daniel interfere less in their lives. This is Daniel's property. Lucas is just staying here as a guest. The two are friends. As for the resemblance between Lucas and himself, it's probably just a coincidence. Maybe when Oliver fell in love with him at first sight. It was because of this face similar to his childhood friend that he noticed him. Love at first sight? In an instant, James regained his senses and remembered the cute look of the young man in casual clothes running up to him, clumsily and sincerely showing his attentions. Memories overlapped with reality. The face in front of him was still young, but now it had a confused and heart-broken tear-stained look. As the blood rushed back, James felt a burning pain in the place where he had been punched. This apartment was far from the hustle and bustle, and the security guards were sensible. When they noticed the commotion here, they sent 2 people to take a look. Finding it was a private dispute, they immediately backed off, but still left 1 person watching from afar to prevent further physical conflict. Shame and pain made James' fair complexion turn purple with a burning feeling. He took a step forward and tried to make amends. Oliver. Daniel blocked him back with one arm. What are you doing? After scolding someone just now, do you think you can just act like it never happened? James reached out his hand to Oliver. Oliver, I'm here to take you home. Daniel protected Oliver and took a few steps back. Oliver has been busy with his music day and night. It's finally starting to pay off. If you're a decent person, don't let him worry about dealing with your relationship at this time. James ignored Daniel and looked at Oliver pleadingly, waiting for his reply. Oliver? After a long silence, Oliver lowered his head and whispered, Brother, I want to go home. I want to eat the food cooked by Emma. James' face froze like a steel plate. Daniel felt a pang of heartache, took his hand. Okay, let's go. Once in the car, Oliver seemed extremely tired. He hugged the cushion and rubbed it, saying, Brother, I'm sleepy and want to go to sleep. Daniel restarted the car and said, I know your nature. You can't handle things once they come up. You had an audition today, so you didn't rest well last night. Go to sleep. I'll drive the car steadily for you. Oliver buried his face in the cushion and said, Thank you, brother. He didn't say anything else. In the silence, Daniel dialed the home phone. He remembered that both his parents were at home today. As soon as the phone was connected, Daniel said, Mom, Oliver was bullied. I'll take him home tonight. I'll tell you the details when I get back. Andrew, who was quietly lying on the back seat, pursed his lips and smiled faintly. It worked. Since Daniel had informed his parents, Andrew wasn't questioned when he got home. He turned off his phone, locked himself in his room, and played a plain battle game on the Xbox. As far as he knew, Daniel had the habit of playing games with Oliver. This young president only played the plain battle game, so almost all the records of the plain battle game in this game console were left by the 2 brothers. If Daniel had time, he'd probably come to play with him to help him relieve stress. Although emotions could affect one's performance, Andrew's clumsiness obviously exceeded the influence of emotions. After playing for an hour, Andrew's score was still hovering outside the top 50 and couldn't even make it onto the leaderboard. All he could see were the special effect sparks of small planes exploding. He threw the game controller aside and complained to 061, My eyes hurt. 061 thought for a while and rummaged through the audio library. Soon, a clear, voiced female voice rang in Andrew's ear. For the revolution, protect your eyesight, prevent myopia. Eye exercises start. Andrew, please stop it. 061 said, I know you want to adapt to Oliver's life as soon as possible, but you don't have to work so hard. Andrew said indignantly, I was really good at playing games when I was a kid. 61, all right, you're good. Andrew added, this game controller is too old. 61, yes, it is a bit old. The scan factory information shows that it has been used for 2 years. 061's agreement was like Andrew had laid a step and even a red carpet for himself. But in this way, Andrew actually felt a bit bored. He slumped back dejectedly and said, all right, I'm clumsy with my hands. 061 said gently, you can still do an eye exercise, right? Under the guidance of the system, Andrew did a set of eye exercises and practiced for a while. When he estimated that it was almost dinner time, he obediently went downstairs. The 2 elders were already waiting downstairs. Standing on the stairs, he called to Stella at the dinner table, Mom. Then he turned to Henry and said, Dad. Oliver seemed fine and hadn't cried, but there were bloodshot eyes from lack of sleep, and he looked extremely tired, his eyes wandering blankly. Stella felt a lump in her throat and turned her face away. Henry pointed to the chair where Oliver usually sat and said, sit down. At this time, Emma carried a steaming dish out of the kitchen. Oliver's eyes lit up. He took a few quick steps over, deftly took it, scooped up a piece with a spoon, stuffed it into his mouth, and gasped from the heat. Daniel came out of the kitchen and said, no one is competing with you. Have you not eaten meat for many years? Stella felt sorry for him again and said, "It's okay. Don't be in a hurry. Sit down and eat slowly." The dish was cooked to perfection and melted in the mouth. Oliver smacked his lips, looking very satisfied. "I'll have to take Emma with me wherever I go from now on." Emma smiled, "Okay. When Oliver makes something of himself, Auntie will go wherever Oliver goes." This statement was true. Shortly after, Oliver committed Emma, who had worked as a nanny in the Chin family for more than 20 years and watched Oliver grow up, suffered a heart attack and passed away. Before she died, she was already delirious, but she still mumbled, "I'm going to find Oliver. I'll cook his favorite dishes for him. He hasn't had them for several years." Oliver rolled up the cuffs of his cotton pajamas twice. "I'll go and cook 2 dishes for Emma too." Emma quickly reached out to stop him. "You're so impulsive. The other dishes will be ready soon. Sit still. If you get covered in the smell of cooking oil, you'll have to wash your clothes again." Oliver turned to seek help. "Brother?" At the thought of Oliver's cooking, Daniel actually felt his mouth watering. Since Oliver brought him a meal last time, he always felt that the food in the company canteen didn't taste right. He waved his hand. "Go ahead. There are still some chicken pieces and a little matsutake in the kitchen. Do as you like." Having received Daniel's permission, Oliver immediately snatched Emma's apron. Emma was a little worried. "Don't burn the pot." More than 10 minutes later, Oliver brought the dishes to the table. He stir-fried the chicken pieces with chili until they were fragrant, tender, and golden, then put them in a deep dish plate and poured the thickened soup over them. The matsutake was baked with butter until the fresh juice overflowed. After being sliced, they were beautifully arranged in an umbrella shape. They were thick and chewy, just like eating meat. Coupled with a plate of stir-fried lettuce, there was a sumptuous spread on the table. Both Stella and Emma were stunned. Oliver wiped his hands with the apron and said to his father, "Dad, have a taste." Since taking over Oliver's body, Andrew had never cooked a meal for James. First, everyone has different cooking and the taste of the dishes they make varies. Once James noticed that the taste of the dishes was different from before, he would inevitably become suspicious. Second, Andrew only wanted to cook for those who were worthy. The whole family was sitting around the steaming dinner table. Daniel and Henry were discussing a recent company account. Stella was concerned about Oliver's interview process, and Emma kept putting food on Oliver's plate, afraid that he wouldn't have enough to eat. Their faces became a bit blurred in the rising steam from the home-cooked dishes, but it was extremely warm. By the end of the meal, there were almost no dishes left on the table. Daniel even dipped the steamed buns in the soup and ate them, looking rather reluctant to end the meal. After the meal, Emma sent Andrew, who was trying to do the dishes, back to his room. As soon as he got back to his room and picked up the game console, Daniel knocked on the door. Daniel didn't come to play games at first, but when he saw the game interface on the TV that hadn't been closed in time, he couldn't resist the urge and proposed, "Let's have a round." Andrew, sure. Andrew looked calm on the outside but was extremely panicked inside. He sighed to 061 in his heart. "It's over." 061 said, "Don't panic." Andrew ignored 061's comfort and began to secretly make up excuses. "A broken heart has made me listless, and this heartache has made my hands extremely clumsy." When the two of them sat down in front of the TV, Andrew suddenly heard 061 say, "Don't be afraid. It's me." Soon, a warm and dry feeling covered Andrew's hands, as if a pair of hands had grasped them, but nothing could be seen with the naked eye. Andrew shivered and almost dropped the controller. The owner of those hands was very good at comforting. He gently squeezed the base of Andrew's thumb and held his slightly trembling hands in his palm, saying in a gentle voice, "It's okay. Leave it to me." When 061 said he would handle it, he really meant it completely. Andrew didn't need to move at all, just hold the controller. A pair of non-existent hands with a long and soft touch held Andrew's hands and controlled the game on his behalf. Those hands were incredibly fast. Andrew felt that his hands were almost flashing like afterimages under their guidance. The little plane controlled by 061 was also rapidly moving through a hail of bullets, accurately sniping every enemy. However, those enemies and the plane itself gradually turned into dense colored blocks, and the explosion lights and shadows blurred in Andrew's eyes, turning into a pool of colorful paint-like shapes. Andrew remained calm in expression, but his palms had already started to turn cold and sweat. It felt as if an ant nest had exploded in the palm held by 061, itchy and uncomfortable. After one round, Andrew easily broke the highest record. He turned his head and smiled at Daniel. "Brother, you're out of practice." Daniel was competitive. Just as he was about to say they should have a rematch, he turned his head and saw Oliver with a forehead full of fine sweat. He was immediately startled and reached out to touch his forehead. "What's going on?" Andrew dodged backward and whispered, "Maybe I ate a bit too much. My stomach doesn't feel well." Daniel immediately forgot about the game. "Look at you being so useless. I'll go get you some medicine." Andrew said, "It's okay. Don't let Mom worry. I'll just lie down for a while." Daniel still wasn't at ease. He helped Andrew to the bed and said he'd go get him some digestive tablets, then immediately turned around and pushed the door open to leave. Estimating that Daniel had already reached downstairs by now, Andrew got up and rushed into the toilet to vomit violently. 061's voice changed. "Mr. Andrew." Andrew didn't even have the mouth to answer him. He vomited until his face turned deathly pale. His stomach was like a glove that had been turned inside out, churning and spasming. When he could catch his breath, Andrew's first words were full of regret. "What I ate with so much effort is all gone." 061 was a bit at a loss. Actually, he didn't need to hold Andrew's hand to play on his behalf at all. As long as he used a virus to invade the game system, even if Andrew played with his toes, he could still get Andrew a 1,000,000-point high score. But he wanted to conduct an experiment. Facts proved that his judgment was correct. Andrew had a disorder of physical contact, but 061 didn't expect it to be so serious. No wonder Andrew had been knocking James out these days, even at the cost of his favorability points. After vomiting everything up, Andrew rinsed his mouth with water and leaned against the sink to collect himself. 061 apologized. "Sorry." Andrew wiped his mouth and said, "It's okay. I saw there was still some glutinous rice flour and rice wine in the kitchen. I'll go and make myself a midnight snack later, some glutinous rice balls in fermented rice soup." Even though he knew Andrew was feeling unwell at the moment, upon hearing this, 061 still couldn't help but smile. "That's not the problem. What's wrong with you?" Just a simple touch of hands and he vomited until he had stomach cramps. It was obviously a psychological problem. Andrew said casually, "It's an old problem." 061 asked, "When you're doing fashion shows or shooting movies, you'll inevitably have physical contact with others, right? Not to mention there are also kissing scenes and love scenes." Andrew said, "It's okay. I can usually hold on until the scene changes." Andrew was quite proud. "You'll get used to it after vomiting so much." 061 asked him, "How did it turn out like this?" Andrew looked up at Oliver in the mirror. There was a thin layer of mist in his eyes, which was really endearing. However, Andrew's nonchalant expression diluted the sense of pity and cuteness a lot. He walked out of the restroom. Not finding any cigarettes, he took out a box of chocolate Pocky, put one in his mouth and said, "Is 66 not only responsible for reading to me but also for psychological counseling?" This meant he didn't want to talk about it. 061 sighed and said, "Sorry. In the future, I'll try to pick some lines for you where you don't get too emotionally involved with the target of the strategy." Andrew sincerely praised 66, "You're so cute." 61. "Fine, cute it is then." To comfort Andrew, 061 said, "I saved the live recording of the game just now." Andrew immediately perked up, rubbing his hands and saying, "Quick, send it to me." 061 thought that if you send it to Daniel and get beaten up, I won't be able to help. Then he honestly packed the recording and sent it to Andrew's phone and terminal optical brain, 2 copies in total. Andrew turned on the device. He ignored all the more than 90-line messages sent and more than 30 phone calls made by James. Amid the annoying beeping prompts, he saved the recording. He happily watched it once and said, "This is a small step for me personally, but a big step forward for those with clumsy hands." He added, "Copy this video for me when I return to the real world." 61, "Huh? What for?" Andrew said, "I'll go to visit Lucas' grave and burn this video on a CD for him. Let him see that with 66 by my side, I'm no longer clumsy." 061 let out a laugh. Andrew was a strange person. He was extremely rational when dealing with things, calculating and planning step by step, but occasionally showed some persistent childishness. 061 cherished this persistence very much. Andrew might be the first person who could possibly return to the real world among the 100 worlds he had been to. Andrew settled down at home. He ate and drank as usual and occasionally interacted with his fans on Weibo, posting some daily song, writing routines and short videos of himself playing and singing. In the past, Oliver never showed his face on Weibo. In Andrew's words, it was as wasteful as guarding a gold mine but eating steamed buns. He posted a video of himself playing the guitar. When he got up the next day, he had gained more than 2,000 followers and the number was still rising. Oh my god, is the blogger this cute? I want to marry you. Or please dress up as a girl. What's your sexual orientation, the one above? I always thought Oliver made a living by his talent. Now you're telling me he can actually make it by his looks. Andrew selected a few comments and replied to them, then continued to post his song, writing routines irregularly. However, since he showed his face, there had been a large group of people queuing up under his Weibo posts asking for photos. Andrew said to 061, "Look, many people say that all good-looking people are the same, while an interesting soul is hard to come by. But without a good-looking appearance, who would be willing to take the time to get to know an interesting soul?" 061 thought this statement was a bit unreasonable. He didn't know what Andrew looked like when he first met him. He still thought Andrew was quite interesting and thus asked 023 to search for information about him. But seeing Andrew's rapidly increasing number of followers, 061 felt that his words were not very convincing, so he simply kept quiet. One day, Andrew went downstairs to get some fruits and heard Stella in the living room happily talking on the phone with her old friend. "It's over. It's really over. I've always disliked James. It's not that I look down on the poor. Mr. Cheng's father is still raising fish now. But the principle of a good match really isn't just an empty phrase. Oliver and James simply don't belong to the same world. Why force them to be together?" Andrew smiled. He quietly went back to his room, not disturbing Stella's joy as if she wanted to celebrate all over the world. However, James didn't want to break up with Oliver. After all these years, they had an emotional foundation, and it couldn't just disappear. James found that he couldn't contact Oliver no matter what. He could only secretly check Oliver's Weibo. Whenever Oliver posted a new Weibo, he would secretly give it a like and constantly send messages to show his kindness, asking if he had calmed down. Without Oliver cooking, without his careful care, and without the sound of the piano and singing that could be heard at any time, James suddenly found that his whole life was off track. He was in a daze at work. An image of Oliver would often pop up and cause trouble, making him unable to concentrate and make many mistakes. He was even scolded by his supervisor. At first, James was still confident. Oliver was just angry for a moment. Since he loved him so much, he would definitely come back. However, a week passed and half a month passed. Barely enduring for more than 20 days, James finally couldn't stand it anymore. Why hasn't he come back yet? Could he be detained by his family and unable to get out? James couldn't stand the fact that Oliver was always on his mind when he closed his eyes, and he couldn't stand speculating about all the endless possibilities. But Oliver lived in his parents' villa, and the security facilities there were definitely worth the high annual property management fees. Oliver himself never went out much. Given a piano, he could stay at home for a month. James gritted his teeth and went to find Daniel. Daniel was stopped by James on his way home from work. After listening to his intention, Daniel sized him up with a look as if he were looking at an inanimate object. "You want Oliver to come back?" Although Daniel and Oliver had completely different temperaments, their facial features were similar. Being looked at contemptuously by this face made James feel extremely uncomfortable and uneasy. He took a deep breath and said, "I'll treat Oliver well." Daniel interrupted him. "Tell your parents clearly about your relationship with Oliver and I'll let Oliver think about it." The breath James had just taken got stuck in his throat. Daniel sneered. "What? Didn't you say you'd treat Oliver well?" Daniel had such a strong presence that James couldn't help stuttering when facing him. "Oliver promised to give me some time to handle this matter. He'll face it with me." Daniel really wanted to say something like giving his mother a hard punch, but now he didn't want to scold James anymore. It would be better to save his breath for something else. He spread his hands and said, "Isn't there still plenty of time now? Go ahead. Come to me again when you've handled it. But remember to make an appointment next time. Don't just pop out and block my car. Who would be responsible if I ran you over?" He didn't give James a chance to say more. He stepped on the accelerator, regretting that the car had an environmental friendly system and he couldn't spray James with exhaust fumes. After venting his anger, Daniel was once worried that James might just give up and come to the company to spread the story about him and Oliver. But the fact proved that James was not only as quiet as a chicken, but rather as quiet as an egg. Regarding this, Andrew, who was munching on melon seeds, remained calm and said to 061 point blank, James has much more sense of shame than my brother. 061 analyzed this sentence carefully and couldn't tell for a moment whether Andrew was criticizing someone. Andrew said again, 66, isn't Hazel's new album about to be released? 061 was already used to this kind of name, which was similar to that of a Tony-style hairstylist. After checking, he replied, yes. It's Hazel's 5th anniversary of debut in a week, just like in the original timeline. The development of the record industry here was quite similar to that in the world where Andrew came from. Due to various reasons such as rampant piracy, the record industry had been sliding into decline inevitably since 10 years ago. Singers had to develop side businesses, participate in variety shows, or even go into business. Fewer and fewer people were focusing on pure music. A large number of EPs containing only 3 to 5 songs emerged. Gradually, they replaced albums as the main force in the music market. Choosing to launch the transformation work on the 5th anniversary of debut and cooperating with a large number of advertisements and promotions, it was obvious how much Cloud Entertainment attached importance to Hazel this time. Andrew logged into Oliver's Weibo. The opening page of the Weibo was full of Hazel's sweet smiles. He directly skipped it and entered his own main page. These days he has been quite active on Weibo and his number of followers has exceeded 10,000. Last night he posted a Weibo saying that in order to celebrate the number of his followers exceeding 10,000, he planned to hold a live broadcast and randomly select 3 lucky users to each send them a song. These songs were all his rewritten works during previous practice. He asked the users to keep them for personal collection and not for commercial use and so on. Just 25 seconds after the Weibo was posted, someone immediately replied, "Will Yuanyuan show his face during the live broadcast?" Andrew said, yes, yes, yes. In the end, the number of reposts of this Weibo exceeded 2,000, and most people came just to admire his good looks. This number made Andrew quite satisfied. Just right. He drew and announced the lucky winners, then opened a room on a live streaming website with high traffic and waited for the live broadcast to start at 8 o'clock in the evening. 061 asked, "What's a good name for the room?" Without thinking, Andrew casually typed a name. "How about it? Is it great?" 061 leaned over to take a look. It was "The reflection of the pavilion falls into the pond." Andrew was quite proud. "I use this name for all my social media accounts." Andrew said, 66, why aren't you talking to me? 061 thought, what do you want me to say? Should I persuade you not to be too obsessed with the deceased? Or remind you that this name is a bit inappropriate? However, he still said, it's quite good. During the waiting period, Andrew played a game of plane shooting. He was shot down by the small soldiers and turned into a firework before even seeing the boss of the first level. He said boredly, I really miss my cards. 061 smiled. Andrew was most satisfied with 061's voice setting. It was gentle with a little bit of just right hoarseness. Especially before going to bed. His reading voice would make slight adjustments as Andrew relaxed, with a sleepy and drowsy feeling. With his vocal texture, he is fully capable of being a male anchor on a midnight radio show. Andrew had been in the entertainment industry for 10 years. When he heard 061's laugh, he still couldn't help but feel a tingle in his ears. He asked 061, what are you laughing at? 061 said, actually 023 sent the thing to me 2 days ago. I've just been hesitating whether to give it to you. After much thought, I'd better give it to you. Andrew, WH. He didn't ask because he saw a rather familiar app icon on the display screen. Demon Summoning. Andrew clicked it open. The account was still his own. 507 heroes were quietly lying in the backpack. He was only 6 short of a complete collection. 061 said gently, 023 spent a lot of effort to locate your phone. He captured the waveband and directly connected to the system. Don't worry, the server is still in your original world. It's just that the signal is not very sensitive, so it will be a bit laggy during battles, and the friend function will also be blocked. Andrew was very touched and said, 6-6, you're really my dear homeroom teacher. 061 coughed lightly and said, Student Andrew has performed very well since enrolling. This is a reward. Although theoretically, the more Andrew cared about things in the real world, the more likely he was to choose to return to the real world, but 061 always believed that there would be progress with rewards. Sure enough, Andrew, who was in a good mood after finishing the daily tasks, finally mentioned his plan to 061. Remember what I told you? To break the situation, there are the best strategy, the medium strategy, and the worst strategy. Andrew said, 6-1. Yes. The worst strategy is to follow the original script. Let his sister steal my song so that James will feel indebted to me. Then I'll act pitiful and threaten to commit. James is not a heartless person. I can scrape together the 100 regret points. So, among the 10 people he had guided, all of them used the worst strategy. After all, this was a strange world and someone else's life. Those who were performing the task didn't dare to deviate from the original world line without permission and just wanted to play it safe. Andrew commented, This can indeed complete the task, and I can do it too. But I'll be unhappy. 061 very much agreed. As a system, he had been watching the task target being bullied by the scumbag lover all day long, trying their best to gain favorability just to enjoy a few seconds of satisfaction from the scumbag's incredulous expression when they faked their death. It was a big loss no matter how you calculated it. 061 asked, Then what about the medium strategy? Andrew looked at his watch and said, Don't worry, take your time. At 8 o'clock, Andrew sat in front of the computer and greeted the audience. Can you see me? The number of people in the live streaming room was not large. Including the website's built-in traffic, there were only more than 2,000 instant clicks and more than 300 people watching online. For a newcomer, it was already a very good figure. Andrew turned on the recording software, held the guitar, took a sip of water to moisten his throat, and started singing while playing the guitar. After only listening to the beginning, 061, who thought he had guessed Andrew's strategy, was suddenly stunned. Andrew didn't sing any of the 3 demos. Instead, he sang a few tunes that he often hummed when he was living in James' rented house, with lyrics he quickly wrote. It sounded extremely pleasant. It really was like what he mentioned in the lottery Weibo, just practice works. 061 was a little confused. Andrew held a live stream and asked Hazel about the release time of the new album. Didn't he want to release the music in advance to gain the upper hand and catch Hazel's side off guard? No matter what 061 thought, Andrew remained calm and steady. He had a faint smile when singing a cappella, and his vocal cords, like musical instruments, vibrated calmly. Especially when he was humming without lyrics, his voice almost melted with the guitar sound. Although 061 had no physical form, his 360-degree all-round image receiver allowed him to see everything. Oliver was naturally handsome, but Andrew's confidence really made him shine with a charming glow. What kind of glow was that? It seemed that he had no need for others, didn't need to please anyone, and could even live well without anyone. 061 simply stopped thinking too much and just concentrated on watching the young man's performance in front of the camera. There were exclamations all over the live streaming room. I'm new here. Which singer anchor is this? Is he very famous? There were also quite a few people sending gifts. Although they were scattered, more and more people gathered. After more than 10 minutes, the number of online viewers exceeded 800. Andrew put down the guitar, drank 2 sips of water, and calmly said, Welcome everyone to request songs. 061 thought Andrew was a bit strange. Whether it was his previous audition or the live streaming, he didn't talk much, which was quite different from the chatty style of Andrew. If it could be said that he was restricted by Oliver's shy persona and couldn't be fully relaxed during the audition because Daniel was there on the internet where no one knew him, he should have been able to let loose a little. But soon this question was answered. 061 casually scanned the user terminals of the online viewers and found that among those following Andrew's live streaming room, one signal source belonged to James and another came from downstairs. James' username was Birchtree. He didn't say a word, but after Andrew sang 3 songs, he rewarded a yacht. The usernames of those who give gifts above the level of a yacht to the anchor will be scrolled and displayed in the reward information bar at the top of the sub, frequency, and main frequency pages. The more high-priced gifts are given, the higher the anchor's experience points and income will be. Someone was envious and jealous. Are today's new anchors so good? Someone else reminded Andrew the position of the room administrator is still vacant. Why not give it to Birchtree? Just after this message was posted, the signal source downstairs took action. A foolish brother at home rewards a Villa X1 to reflection of the pavilion in the pond. A foolish brother at home rewards a yacht X1 to reflection of the pavilion in the pond. A foolish brother at home rewards a sports car X1 to reflection of the pavilion in the pond. It wasn't just one round of rewards, but each gift was given 10 times. Suddenly, all the information scrolling in the reward information was about a foolish brother at home. The entire live streaming room fell into a brief silence. Immediately afterwards, rows of question marks and exclamation marks filled the screen. Andrew sighed to 061. The name Daniel is really straightforward. 061 gave a soft laugh. Ha! Just as Andrew was about to ask 061 what he was laughing at, he saw a new round of message spamming. 061 rewards 50 super rockets to reflection of the pavilion in the pond. One yacht is equivalent to 1,314 renminbi, a villa is 2,000, and a super rocket is 2,222. The full screen question marks and exclamation marks have completely covered Oliver's face and also blocked Andrew's momentary stunned expression. 061 said, although I don't know what you're up to, since you've started this live stream, the greater the publicity and influence, the better. That's what was said, but 061 just thought Andrew's performance was worth so many gifts. Andrew came to his senses, going all out, huh? 061 said honestly, anyway, for me, numbers are just numbers. Andrew, I give full marks to this show off. The system is great, taking me to a life of plenty. Daniel was also momentarily shocked by this figure. For the first time in his life, Brother Chung had the feeling of being hit in the face with money, and his mood was a bit complicated. Andrew explained to the live stream audience, it's my friend and elder brother causing a ruckus. Brother, stop fooling around. Daniel's hand trembled. How did he find out? Daniel immediately exited the live stream room, but then thought that since he had already been exposed, it would be silly to keep hiding. Soon, he mustered up the courage to re-enter the live stream room and officially posted a comment. Well, the singing is good. But with the nickname, I have a dumb brother, and having swiped a large number of gifts all at once, Brother Cheng's aloof image was completely gone. Looking at the endless stream of magical bullet comments like, caught a brother who dotes on his younger brother, the anchor is really a rich and beautiful woman, shouldn't it be a rich and handsome man in the front, the overbearing brother falls in love with me. Daniel couldn't handle it and slipped away. After being disrupted by these two people one after another, James, who had gritted his teeth and swiped a yacht at the beginning to try to catch Oliver's attention, ended up being just a passer-by. He didn't care about the pain of spending money anymore. The digital ID of 61 burned James' eyes painfully. 61 isn't the homophone, Lucas? When he himself is not by Oliver's side, who on earth accompanies Oliver? After the live broadcast, Andrew stretched and threw himself onto the soft big bed, sincerely praising, Teacher 6, you're really a great system. 061 smiled and said, just think of it as a bribe. Bribe for what? 061 said, how about explaining your plan to me? Which plan? As soon as the words were out, Andrew realized it. He sat up cross-legged, propping his long arms behind him and said, ask and I'll answer depending on the situation. Aren't 50 rockets enough to buy an answer to every question? Andrew was well experienced. He propped his chin with one hand and lazily said, my original appearance fee was at least 1 million. Since Andrew said so, 061 asked casually, what on earth is your best strategy? I thought you would sing Words in My Heart today and release a new song in advance. Andrew smiled and said, Teacher 6, you're so sweet. I signed an exclusive release contract. If I release a new song in advance on another platform, Lucy will tear me apart. 61, then. Andrew's mouth was really tight. Even 50 rockets couldn't pry it open. You'll understand after 7 days. The operations of 061 and Daniel made Andrew rush straight to the top of the live streaming website's weekly ranking list. Lucy actively contacted Andrew and asked if he needed to take advantage of the situation to promote and hype it up. With Oliver's family background and strength, and with Lucy's protection, of course he had more autonomy than other singers under Nebula. Otherwise, how could it be up to him to decide whether to hype or not? Andrew, playing the little newbie Oliver, hesitated for quite a while. Later he euphemistically said, "Just don't be too high profile." Originally, this live broadcast was just a fan benefit. If it's hyped too much, the taste will change. Lucy breathed a sigh of relief. If Oliver was blindly arrogant and insisted on not cooperating with the hype, there was nothing Lucy could do about it. In this case, the company may re-evaluate Oliver's value and treatment. The record market is extremely cruel. Those who choose this path but cannot stand up to commercial tests or reject business will ultimately become the outcasts of business. Fortunately, Oliver knows what's what. At Oliver's request, major forums and social media did not participate in the linkage. Only a few music marketing accounts of decent quality praised his singing. There are countless current affairs and gossip hotspots on the internet. This promotion of Oliver was just a trial by Nebula Entertainment. The response it received was quite acceptable. However, in just one day, the popularity of Oliver's live broadcast was covered up by other miscellaneous fragmented information. 7 days later, Hazel's new song was launched on major music platforms. At the same time, various pre-written marketing soft articles emerged like mushrooms after rain. Hazel's Weibo cover was changed to the cover of the new album, and a special logo for the 5th anniversary was added. Compared with this kind of all-encompassing and overwhelming promotion, the little popularity Andrew created a few days ago was not even enough to boil a pot of water. The whole network release time of Hazel's new song was set at exactly 9 o'clock in the morning. As the time was approaching, Andrew was not very interested and was lying in bed doing his daily card tasks. 061 asked, "Aren't you going to listen?" Andrew shrugged and said, "I can listen to it sooner or later. No hurry." Out of curiosity, 061 became one of the first listeners of Hazel's new song. A few minutes later, 061 suddenly realized this. Andrew didn't even lift his head and said, 61, this isn't the song written by Oliver. Andrew was concentrating on playing the game and said, "I told you it wasn't 7 days ago. It sounds very similar to the song you sang during the live broadcast." "It is the song I sang during the live broadcast." 61, but how did Amelia steal this? Andrew was controlling the card hero to beat the opponent. This game that didn't require much operation but only tactics was very friendly to someone as clumsy-handed as him. He said, "Mr. Liu, I'm the victim. Don't ask me how she stole the wrong thing. You should ask why she stole it." A few seconds after his voice fell, the prompt "victory" popped up on the screen. The ID, the reflection of the pavilion falls into the pond on the score ranking list, advanced 1 place and jumped to the first. Andrew threw his phone aside and said, after neglecting it for so long, I finally snatched back the first place." He stretched lazily with a good mood and said, "As long as she stole it, as long as she sold it, and as long as Hazel used it, then she's doomed." Hazel is in Yundu and is very popular at the moment. It's inevitable that there are rival companies who can't stand it and are staring at her every move. Moreover, this time the handle she provided for others to grasp is not small. Half an hour after the release of the new song, a marketing account was the first to raise an objection. "Doesn't anyone think there's something subtle about Hazel's new song? I suggest you search for Oliver's live broadcast recording 7 days ago. There will be a surprise." Some people saw it and went to search, and they all said that they really found a surprise. Now Hazel's fans were not happy and they all stepped in. Are your ears deaf? Where's it similar? Just a few similar notes are considered plagiarism? Our idol won't take this blame. The song Love My China also sounds like Hallelujah. Can such a coincidence be used to smear someone? I'm convinced. Yunda Entertainment also received this news immediately. At first, when he received the notice but hadn't heard the song, Leo, Hazel's producer, thought someone was deliberately framing her. He sent a text message to comfort Hazel. "It's okay. It's nothing. There are many people on the internet who like to stir up trouble. Your pre-publicity for the 5th anniversary event was very good. It's inevitable that some people are jealous." However, when he searched for Andrew's live broadcast video and listened to the plagiarized part that was specifically named for less than half a minute, Leo's face gradually turned green. He endured the shock in his heart and clicked on the next song and listened for another minute. Although the melody had been slightly adjusted, with Leo's professional level, he could tell that Hazel's version was simply taking the score and remaking the song that Oliver sang during the live broadcast. Moreover, that handsome young man singing a cappella with a guitar had a vocal condition at least 2 levels better than Hazel's. The gap was obvious even to laymen. What's going on? Hazel's music had already started to be produced. Why was it revealed in a live broadcast 7 days ago? Is it a music source leak? Or is there a problem with the person selling the songs? The business of buying and selling songs has long become an unspoken rule in the music commercial market. Hazel is not both a good singer and songwriter, and her vocal condition is not among the top class, just above average. However, her outstanding appearance does endow her with extraordinary commercial value. There is no shortage of commercial singers like Hazel in the industry, but excellent songwriters are really rare and few in number. Hazel is in a rather awkward position. The truly outstanding songwriters won't work with her, and she looks down on the second-rate ones. Later, Hyundai started to promote her persona as a musical talent girl, claiming that most of her songs were self-composed. In fact, she bought songs everywhere to build up her image as a talented girl. For this 5th anniversary EP, the 2 main songs were composed by famous composers at a high price, and the other 3 were carefully selected from the songs bought by the company, specifically tailored to the theme of this transformation. The most crucial thing is that in the column of the songwriter, it's all filled with Hazel. The producer got really angry and said, "Investigate. Find out who sent these 2 songs that were exposed as plagiarized. Figure out what exactly is going on." Once this incident was exposed, there were so many people on Weibo asking Oliver for an explanation that Andrew couldn't have missed it. Soon, he posted a Weibo. Facing the mountain, like in sea, like doubts, Andrew didn't answer even one question directly. All he gave were just 5 concise words. Continuously under attention. Putting down the mouse, Andrew started to twirl a pen. Twirling a pen is one of his special. He specifically learned it back then to fit the character image in a movie. He can twirl a pen in more than 20 different ways, with various shapes and smooth movements. 061 has roughly guessed all of Andrew's plans. You set a trap for him when you were still living at James' home. Andrew corrected, to be precise, I set a trap for him from the moment we first met. He added, you can recall what I said to him after getting in the car when we first met James. 061 checked the record library and couldn't help being surprised. At that time, the 2 of them talked about going to the railway station to pick up James' parents. James deliberately avoided this topic and looked unhappy. While driving, Andrew naturally changed the subject and said, then let me play you the demo I just wrote. You'll be my first listener, okay? His attitude was so casual that it wasn't until 061 reviewed the situation later that he realized what the problem was. The instrumental music Andrew played was not any of Whispers in the Heart, Love You, or Autumn Thoughts, but the song he sang during the live broadcast 7 days ago. 061 was puzzled. It had only been a few hours from the time you entered the mission world to when you met James. Where did you get these 3 songs? Could they be Oliver's previous works? Andrew was very nonchalant. I copied them. 61, Andrew said, I didn't have enough time then, so I directly downloaded the instrumental versions of those 3 songs and played them for James. Later, I used Oliver's ability to make some simple adjustments and modifications to these 3 songs and then sent them to James. James had been listening to these songs over and over again for those days, so of course he thought these 3 songs were the new demos written by Oliver. 061 was puzzled, so why go through all this trouble? For this. Andrew stopped writing and pointed at the computer screen, which showed a statement issued by the Hazel studio of Hyundai Entertainment just 1 minute ago. Since the matter was urgent, Hyundai's statement came out especially quickly. The Hazel studio first apologized to Hazel's fans and then stated its attitude, saying that the matter was under investigation and there might have been a problem of source leakage. The reason of source leakage was really well chosen, which made Hazel transform into a victim instead. Andrew stroked his chin. Oh, Hyundai still wants to maintain Hazel's image as a talented woman now. 061 said they first set the public opinion and then they can conduct public relations slowly. But how can they be sure it's source leakage and not something else? Andrew smiled, of course, because they got in touch with Amelia. 061 suddenly understood. Misled by James, in Amelia's perception, what she stole were the original demos by Andrew. As long as she can get James to keep Oliver in check, this blame game will go around in circles and ultimately land on Oliver. Andrew said, "But who says the songs that came out from me must be my songs?" He did mention in a Lottery Weibo post that the few songs for his fans were rewritten songs and should not be used commercially. Of course, he didn't say whether these songs were written by himself or not. The right of final interpretation always lies with Andrew. Andrew said, "Do you want to hear the middle and top level strategies?" 061 couldn't help laughing. Andrew's assertive look is quite cute. He said gently, "I'm all ears." "The middle level strategy is for me to let Amelia copy Oliver's songs," Andrew said. "When the matter blows up, it will turn into a confrontation between Xingyun and Yundu, two major companies. With Xingyun and Daniel backing me up, I won't suffer much." Andrew paused. "But if we do this, it will become a muddled account of who copied from whom. Of course, there are also benefits. In the era of traffic, we're not afraid of negative points, but afraid of lack of topics. If we adopt the middle-level strategy, Oliver and Hazel will probably be tied together forever. People will definitely mention her when they talk about Oliver. For an unknown newcomer in the music industry, being able to be associated with Hazel and appear on the same screen as her should be considered a stroke of luck for Oliver in many people's eyes." 061 shook his head. "Doing so will indeed make everything confusing. In my top-level strategy, Oliver will be completely cleared. He is neither the plagiarist nor the plagiarized. He just happened to rewrite a few songs, happened to have his songs stolen by Amelia, and happened to be involved in this plagiarism scandal. His songs and himself are all clean. By the way, he also gets a bit of popularity out of it." 061 couldn't help laughing out loud. "It's good, but it's still a bit lacking." Andrew retorted, "What's lacking?" 061 said, "It's not quite right to copy others' songs and drag innocent people into the storm." "There are no innocent people in my plan," Andrew said, tapping his temple with the end of his pen. "Remember, there is another person in Oliver's story who played quite a role." "Ha!" Andrew prompted 061, "Do you remember that die-hard fan of Hazel who chased after Oliver and scolded him, pushing the public opinion to its peak?" 061 was stunned. Although he became popular through a venomous, tongue marketing account, he was also a musician before. Is it difficult to find a few songs of decent quality but not very popular from his works a few years ago? Andrew accurately threw the pen into the pen holder on the table, making a soft clinking sound. If his own work is plagiarized by his idol, do you think he will feel honored or angry? Shortly after his words fell, Oliver's phone rang. Andrew smiled. The public relations reaction of Nebula this time is a bit slow. "I thought they should have contacted me half an hour ago." He picked up the phone and immediately turned into a panicked and soft-hearted little rabbit. "Hello, Hunter. Well, yes, I've seen the Weibo post and I'm still following it. Please listen to me. The song I sang during the last live broadcast was a rewritten version of a song by a big V on Weibo. I don't know why it coincided with Miss Hazel's new album. James received a call from Amelia while he was at work. Seeing the three characters, Amelia, appear on the screen, James felt vaguely annoyed. Recently, whenever he saw a call from his family, he would think of Daniel's strict requirements for him and then of Oliver's gentle and innocent smile, feeling extremely sour in his heart. Oliver's phone must have been confiscated by his family and he must have been under house arrest at home. Otherwise, he would have tried every means to see him. After being in a daze for a few seconds, he pressed the answer button. "Lit?" Amelia's sobs suddenly came from the other end of the phone, startling him. Brother. James' face changed slightly. He stood up from his seat with the phone in his hand and quickly walked towards the tea room. "What's going on?" Amelia was crying so hard that she was stamping her feet anxiously. "Didn't you say that Brother Oliver's song hadn't been published and he didn't plan to publish it? Now their company has come to me. What should I do? What on earth should I do?"